I think back then, the blind spot was data. We would do so much of traditional marketing and we didn't know what exactly worked. But today I can actually pinpoint exactly at this second, the customers got excited. It was this taste. It was a third sip. Like we could list everything. So that's data at the end of it.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our podcast, I Wish My Boss Told Me That. Today we have with us Priyanka Ganapathy, and she is our Senior Manager for the Marketing COE, the Marketing Center of Excellence. And Priyanka has had an interesting career with experience in both startups and in established multinationals. So very happy to have Priyanka here on board. Hi, Priyanka. How are you?
Hi, Serge. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to be part of this podcast. I'm very excited.
All right, great. I'm very interested to learn a bit more about your career as well. And I think a lot of our listeners probably as well, because you have a career in marketing, which is a field that excites a lot of people nowadays. So maybe you can start, just explain a little bit how you started your career, right? And how you ended up in marketing, for example.
Sure, I would love to. So, Serge, a little bit about me. I'm from Coorg and basically grew up in Bangalore. And I'm a typical 80s kid. So during my growing up days, I watched a lot of advertisement and seen a lot of marketing promotions. And if you're from the 80s, you know the Indian economy just opened up. So we had brands and products coming into our lives every day. So the city was filled with hoardings and the newspapers were really exciting. We had only 2 TV channels filled with a lot of advertisements and they were really cool to watch. The reason I'm telling you this is it really influenced me to become a marketing person later on in life. Because back then the way ads were made were literally that, they would create a connection between the consumers and the product. Like when we watched it, we would smile, we would want to own these products. It gave us that sense. So in fact, there was this really famous ad. I'm sure most of the people who are listening can resonate or connect to it, was Hamara Bajaj. I'm translating it to you. It meant my Bajaj. Bajaj was a scooter company. And the way they created that ad, that literally became the national scooter. Every household wanted to own that scooter. So there are a lot of things like the Amul girl and the Fevicol ad and the Common Man from TOI. I saw all of this and I grew up. And then I decided to take marketing as my career. So I went to Australia to do my master's. I came back and
Australia?
Yes, I went to Sydney, Macquarie University.
You were sitting there one evening watching one of those commercials and you said, you know what, let me go to Australia to study marketing. Why did you go to Australia? How did you end up there?
After my graduation, I wanted to learn a lot about marketing, of course, and also I wanted to have an international experience. And the city looked beautiful, so I was like, yeah, let me just go there and study. And it was great. It was 2 years in Australia, and it was a great experience. A lot of learning, internships, meeting a lot of people. Great experience. And then I came back, and after that, I took up a career in marketing itself. I joined India's largest pharmaceutical company. And from there, I moved to India's #1 media house. I worked for a couple of startups after that. And today I'm with ABI, the world's largest beer manufacturer. It's been 12 plus years, Serge. Super exciting. I've actually seen the transition of traditional marketing to digital. I've been part of this whole evolution and it's been a great ride. And I know after this whole big pandemic, it's going to get even more exciting. So I'm looking forward to it.
All right. So tell us a little bit more about some of those changes that you made, because you started in a big multinational, but then somehow you ended up in a startup and then again going to a multinational. How did that go? And why did you move from a big multinational where you probably have a lot of career opportunities all of a sudden to start or to work in a small startup?
So Serge, I would like to tell you one instance when I started off my career and I got a small team and I was supposed to do traditional marketing. It was great. I had a team of developers, I had a team of graphic designers, copywriters. This company invested a lot of money in terms of traditional marketing. There was TV, radio, and it was great learning. But at some point, I realized we were lacking web presence. And of course, my senior management was like, think out of the box, come up with new channels, develop new ideas. So I was experimenting there, and I figured we lacked a lot of web presence. And I took it back to the management saying that we need to build a website. Initially, it was a no, because this is the mid 2000 Serge, and we need to realize that a lot of products and companies back then didn't feel the need to have a website. They believe like trade shows and exhibitions and TV would help you get all the marketing and visibility that you need. And I'm somebody who would sit and research and look for stuff, and Google was already Google, right? You're searching and learning everything from Google. So I had to build like a case study, bring in a lot of data points, show them, similar products in the industry who were using websites, and to convince the management that we invest in digital presence. They gave me 1 lakh rupees and they said, figure it out. That's like $1,500. So I was like, okay, fine. I took it up as a challenge, and I'm like, yeah, I'll figure it out. So I pulled out one developer, I pulled out one copywriter, and it was me. We upskilled ourselves. We learned how to make a website. We learned SEO. We learned digital marketing strategies. We did a lot of trial run internally, and we had a successful model. And I remember 6 months later, I went back with 10 potential legit leads to my management. They were quite impressed, but they're like, oh, this is so slow. The same 1 lakh we put in a trade show, we don't have 40 leads. But I know today when I speak to them, they're like, it was a great initiative, because today they have an online revenue of 7 figures. So, which is amazing from that website. So, yeah.
Yeah. And so what was your role in the startup? So when you moved from the big pharmaceutical to the startup?
In the startups, typically, again, you're setting up things from scratch. You have very minimal resources, you have minimal budgets, and you have to make things happen in a limited time. You don't have a lot of time to turn things around. So the learning was enormous. The pressure was a lot, but that kind of helped me turn things around. Startup was definitely a great learning, but it had its own limitations. Hence, I moved into a larger company after that, taking all this learning. Yeah, that's what it's been so far.
Yeah. So you've been in marketing now for about 12 years then, right? You said. So you saw how marketing evolves. And as you said, became probably more and more digital. And now for sure with the tech giants, a lot more data driven than it was before.
Yes.
So how do you constantly upskill and reskill yourself, right? Because people might think, oh, marketing is great, but marketing as it is today is probably very different as marketing as it was 10 years ago when you started.
Yes. Like even the way we did SEO 10 years back was now is so different.
I did SEO already.
Yes. So what typically happens is, Serge, at least now, I would say, all the large companies, at least in the last 2-3 years, what I've seen is they're making data-driven decisions. And I think from 2021, that's going to play a very, very significant role. All companies will be functioning with very limited teams and limited workforce, and they're expecting the workforce to upskill themselves and know how to understand data and how to make strategic decisions based on this data. And that's what I'm seeing in a couple of years. So what I constantly do is I follow a lot of marketing gurus. Gartner, of course, he's like the father of marketing. Neil Patel for SEO. I follow Sarah Zeldman, Gary Hamel. Some of the great CEOs that I'm inspired by and I follow them and I listen to their webinars are Seth Fabman from Spotify, Kelly Bennett, of course, Netflix, Melissa Stelzer from LinkedIn, and Ojo for Amazon Prime. So these are some of my top CMOs that I follow on a regular basis.
And maybe talk about one or two of those people that inspired you. How do you see some of those CMOs leading the way in digital marketing?
Spotify is something that I would love to highlight about, because the CMO believes in delivering stories through music and listening. In fact, it's all data driven, the entire app. The kind of music that is shown to you or thrown to you is based on the mood. the kind of music that you want to listen to in the morning is different versus the kind of music you listen to in the evening. There are times when it actually throws in something really random and it would test that if you would like to listen to it and explore it. So it gives you that option to, at least we're beginning to try those different kind of things. How else will they throw more musicians or more products to you, more movie to you, more content to you? Same thing with Netflix and Amazon Prime. I'm sure like it's already throwing things that, is your taste that you would like to watch. And that's where the world is heading. Like I mentioned to you that it's all data driven going forward and we need to embrace it.
All right. So what's going to happen in marketing? What does marketing of the future look like then, according to you? What are the latest trends?
I guess in terms of the future, it's going to be more in terms like the brands, like we especially need to connect with technology and human experience. Let me give you an example. You can tell Alexa, hey, get me a bottle of beer. And in the next 30 minutes, beer is going to show up on your doorstep. But that's still not the best part. I think the best part or the interesting thing that we'll have to wait and watch is which brand is going to show up. So we know today a lot of brands, especially in the B2B space, are using machines to buy from machines, bots to buy from bots. So will we as brands still continue building this connection between humans? Because if we are looking at the future where machines and bots are going to be doing all this buying, how will they connect with brand emotions and brand connections? Because they only understand codes and instruction. So how this is going to pan out is going to be really amazing.
The fact that everything will be more automated and a lot of your purchases will be done automatically. Do you think it will reduce brand loyalty, or somehow the brand loyalty will be, how to say, we will teach our bots, which kind of brands we like?
I guess that's when the whole data bit comes in, right? Because if you're going to teach them brand loyalty, then I need all the information about Serge or all the information about Priyanka to build the artificial intelligence to come in where it'll understand the loyalty. So I guess, data is going to play a very important role in building this future that we are dreaming about.
Yeah. The question then is, how do you launch a new brand, right? Or an extension? If you want somehow to launch something new line extension, new flavor, whatever it is, if a big part of your, let's say, purchases are going to be automated, how do you make sure that, your new line extensions, your new SKUs pop up?
So, Sir, we're already collecting this kind of data, right, on a day-to-day basis. Even today, we're trying to understand what every market likes, what consumers like in terms of demographics, in terms of age group, what flavors they will like. In a certain occasion, they would like to drink this. In a certain occasion, they would not want to drink beer but drink wine. So we're sitting on all this data. So when we're launching new products, this is what we're going to be using. Do they prefer drinking it off a can? Do they prefer drinking it off a glass or a bottle? We are sitting on all this data. So we just use this to launch new brands.
So does it mean that in marketing, to be a great marketeer in the future, you need to be a data scientist?
I guess it will go hand in hand. That is the future. That's what I see happening.
But those are two very skill sets, no? Somebody who's a marketeer, I always envision as a much more creative person who comes with creative ideas, marketing campaigns. Whereas a data scientist is typically hardcore algorithms, programming, logic, very, very different. No? Do you see?
I agree with you completely, but I see marketing today is just not about creating that emotional level, right? Because I think back then, the blind spot was data. We would do so much of traditional marketing and we didn't know what exactly worked. But today, I can actually pinpoint exactly at this second, the customers got excited. It was this taste. It was a third sip. Like we could list everything. So that's data at the end of it. So if I have the creativity and I have upskilled myself to understand, the algorithm, I'll be able to understand what my customer needs and program things better.
Yeah. So you need, as a marketeer, you need to have a certain, let's say, a certain skill set in data science, because you'll need to work a lot more with data than in the past.
Yes. Yes,
And somehow you need to be able to collaborate, right, and talk to the data scientist. So when the data scientist
definitely.
comes back to you and says, "Oh man, we did this random forest model and we did this k-means algorithm, etc." That you at least know what this person is talking about.
Exactly. Because I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
if we as marketers can manage to get our hands on the right kind of data and we can get a data scientist to interpret it and convert it into what the product has to be, I think it's a win-win.
Here in India, right, and what I mentioned in the introduction in the beginning is that a lot of people are very excited to go into marketing.
Yes.
A lot of campus hires always say, "I want to go into marketing." Yeah. Great, but do they really fully understand what marketing means? Because the way that you're explaining it now, I think a lot of us have this perception of, again, marketing being an area where you go and you brainstorm, you make nice videos, you make nice marketing campaigns, you discuss with the creative companies about logos, etc. But there's a lot more to it than just that creative part, right?
Yes, definitely, Serge. That's just one aspect of it. And I've been really fortunate enough, especially in ABI, to interview a lot of campus hires. And the first thing they tell me is, I dream to shoot the next Super Bowl ad, and I want to be the brand manager for Corona or the brand manager for Budweiser, and I want to shoot a Budweiser ad. I mean, all that is really nice, but they need to understand that's not the only thing we do. There's so much more, that goes into even shooting that ad. Do we really need that ad? How much money you put on the table, and what kind of an ad that needs to be actually made? So what I want to tell the younger generation is, after this whole pandemic, the whole digital transformation for every single brand in the world has changed. Everyone who thought I have a couple of years to go through digital transformation, no, they had to do it overnight. We had to rework, even ABI as a company, we had to rework on our marketing strategies because everything, a very large part of things became virtual in 2020. So even for the younger generation, when they say that they want to manage the Budweiser page or shoot an ad, that's not the only thing that we do. You need to look beyond that. We look at a lot of data within this company also. And only then we decide our strategies. Only then we decide what needs to be done with that brand and how to position the brand, how to take it to the consumers and to the market. And this is what I want to tell the younger generation to start thinking in that direction. Start looking and understanding about what more marketing has to offer and not stagnated to just logo creation or just managing a page or just shooting an ad. That is also a part of it, but not the most important part of it.
Yeah. Can you
Yeah.
maybe share some examples of what has happened in the last year with some of our biggest brands, how, the marketing team has reshaped those brands in the middle of the pandemic?
Overnight, when the pandemic hit, everyone had to sit indoors. They had to sit indoors, and they were away from their, whole social network. They were cut off from their social network. And Budweiser was all about bringing people together and having fun together. So during this pandemic, what should we do? So the brand decided to connect people virtually. So the WhatsApp, if you see the Budweiser WhatsApp ad initially, that they have a bunch of friends saying WhatsApp to each other in person, but the whole thing became virtual. They were on their mobile phones and on Zoom saying WhatsApp to each other.
Hello? What's up? What's that? Hello? What's that?
With Karan.
Hold on.
Where's Karan auntie?
He's sleeping, like always.
So what's happening, auntie?
Nothing much, beta. Staying at home, cutting bhindi, making dal.
True.
And that ad did really well because at that point in time, when everyone was at their lowest, they could connect back through virtual phones and WhatsApp and internet and actually greet each other and connect with each other and have a beer together. So that definitely was a highlight in terms of marketing for our brand at that point of time.
Yeah. It's all about creating that clear position for your brand
Yes.
versus the occasion and then the emotion that you want attached to that occasion, right? Is there one thing that you would tell to our listeners here, something that you've learned in your career and that you wish your boss would have told you already 10 years ago?
I guess I wish my boss told me 10 years ago was he believed in my idea in terms of building a website at that point of time. And I guess if he believed in it, it would have been bigger, even more faster. I think that is one thing. I guess I would like to tell my viewers that things are going to change. Next 5 years, you're going to see a lot of changes in terms of digitalization. It's going to be a drastic shift next 5 years, and that's something that we should look forward to and embrace it.
Yeah, and constantly upskill yourself. It's not because you are in marketing.
Yeah.
Follow some of the CMOs, follow some of the newsletters that you mentioned, and stay continuously up to date on what's happening, right?
Yes, definitely.
All right. Very nice. Thanks a lot, Priyanka, for joining us here today.
Thank you, Serge. This is so much fun.
Thank you for sharing some insights, and have a very nice day. And to the listeners, thanks for joining us again today. There you are. Thanks again for joining us today. If you like the podcast, just like, share with your audience, and see you in the next episode. Cheers.